We did it.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this is Unpopular Culture. And today we're here to talk about the first, I want to say it's the first big superhero movie of the year, and we have plenty this year. And that is Fox's final foray into the Wolverine saga. And that is Logan. So, hi,
Oh,
everyone.
man. And I think just right away, you should just know we like the movie. We very much like the movie. And obviously we'll discuss more specifics of it later. But I don't know anyone who watched this and didn't like it.
Yeah,
like, I haven't heard one person go, you know what, that was boring.
actually, I should check out what it is on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I'm actually pretty curious. Logan, Rotten Tomatoes, because I mean, the first two Wolverine movies had, let's say, mixed receptions at the very best. I think X-Men Origins Wolverine, I think everyone universally decided, no.
Well, did you see that? I don't know if anyone remembers, but the cartoon claws were like the best thing ever. They were hilarious because he in Origins he looks at him in the mirror and he like does this thing, and they're the least practical effect I've ever seen. It looked like they took 13 minutes to do it, and it kind of looked like those old movies where it was like live action and also cartoon, and I can't think of one.
Like Roger Rabbit claws.
Roger Rabbit, yeah, it was Roger Rabbit, or that
Cool
one movie
World.
where Don Knotts turns into a fish. all those.
Yep. It's 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way, which
Yeah,
sounds about right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
how long until we get into spoilers? Are we gonna talk
Well,
about
let's discuss non-spoilers for a little bit. So Hugh Jackman said this is his last movie he's going to do as Wolverine. And obviously the trailers showed what looks, it almost looks post-apocalyptic, but it's not. It's 2029.
it's
well,
Texas.
no, it's Mexico, but just below Texas. But it it's just the tone was perfect, I think. And I guess I don't know how to describe this without doing spoilers, so let me give it an attempt. The tone was the bad guy. There wasn't okay, so yes, there was an antagonist, but that was almost tertiary. And like the plot wasn't even really that Logan has to save that little girl that you see in the trailers, whose name is Laura, played by Daphne Keane, who didn't really have to act very much, but when she did well, especially at the end. And it wasn't even like that was, of course, like if you're writing a story, like, okay, here's where he has to go A to B. This is the stuff that happens in between. Yes. But the story wasn't even really that. What the story was about family. And it wasn't like a ham-fisted, let's shove it in your mouth and let's choke you with exposition on family. It was just this very, like, the core of it was so actually meaningful, and it was surprising. And I don't, because it was rated R, which was fantastic, and they took full advantage of that. I think the first thing he says is fuck, or like one of the first things he says is fuck.
The whole first scene is just establishing, and this isn't really a spoiler, it's the first scene. The whole first scene is establishing this is an R-rated movie. You get it? Yeah. Okay, let's move forward. The first thing he said,
also that first scene is so great too, because it also explains where the character's at without like exposition.
I think the same guy that directed The Wolverine also, which surprised me because I wasn't a big fan of The Wolverine, the one where he goes to Japan and stuff.
But that one was the least bad, to be fair.
Up until now. Well, I mean, it was competing against X-Men Origins Wolverine. So
James Mangold. Let me see what other movies he's done. Yeah, it was The Wolverine, Walk the Line, Girl Interrupted. I'm looking at other things. 3:10 to Yuma, the remake. But in this one, I guess he got told to make a movie.
Well, I'd assume that's generally the goal, but
well, no. But you know what I mean. Like, not WB doesn't say, okay, go be creative.
Fox. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
No, WB with DC.
Oh,
This
okay,
time
okay.
Fox to Mangold and Hugh Jackman had a lot to do with this, I guess. I guess he was the one that reached out to get someone to do comics. But because they have like a little comics that actually I did a little like what Easter eggs were in Logan that you missed. I didn't miss any of them necessarily because there weren't that many actually. But the comic books I guess were made specifically for that and aren't actual comic books that you can buy. I mean, I assume you can buy them now or will be able to. I think with my tickets they said they had digital comics and I didn't really
No,
look
it's
into
not
that.
the digital comics that were with the tickets. If you got them on like online, I think Fandango had a
Fandango,
special
yeah.
thing. You got Old Man Logan digitally, which was what this was loosely based upon because
Oh, very loosely. Basically, the only thing is the haircut
yeah,
and that he's old.
yeah, pretty much. And there was another comic, I forget what it was. Oh, it was the new Wolverine that stars X-23 as the new Wolverine. Obviously, she's
Sure.
older in that though.
Yeah. And this, by the way, can we just get into spoilers so we can actually talk?
Yeah, I think we need to because
Okay.
this is a movie that it's hard to talk about without spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, please go see it. If you saw the trailer and you're like, oh, this looks interesting, the movie is the tone and what you think you're going to get with the trailer. And that's not to say it's like 100% predictable. You're going to get everything that's happening, but it's an enjoyable experience. If you think
Okay,
you'll like Logan, you'll like it. Spoilers starting now.
Okay, so I want to talk about the first scene because it sets the tone really well. He's clearly a car driver at this point. He drives limos around. I think it's whatever that city that's right next to in Texas. This is it San Juan or it's right across the border. El Paso. I don't know. It's not. It's got like attractions and stuff. He's a car driver, and you can tell because it's a limo. No one just has a limo. And he's wearing a suit or whatever. Oh, that's another thing that had Old Man Logan in common with it, the suit he wears at the beginning. But so he rolls out and he's clearly drunk and he's older, obviously. Like the first thing you notice is how fucking old he is. And there's these Mexican guys trying to take the rims off of his car. And Logan's like, guys, first of all, those are chrome plated lug nut. You're going to strip the chrome right off of it. And it's just not, I don't want to fight you guys. I just don't want to do it. And they speak Spanish, so I don't know if they actually got what he was doing. So they start attacking him, of course, because they're gang members. And gang members, they have no regard for their physical safety. Even in a suit, he looks threatening. But so they attack him as he does. And he's obviously being very restrained. And at first you're like, Wolverine being restrained, but they explain to you immediately without saying words why he's so restrained. Because when he actually goes to fight them, he fucking murders people with his hand knives. And imagine a life that started, was it the Revolutionary or Civil War that he was in?
He was in the Civil War.
He's in the Civil War, so 1800s. A life that starts around the 1800s. And killing people with your knife hands for all that, like that'll fuck you up over time. And he's clearly so tired of the bullshit. And he lays waste to these guys and cuts their limbs off. And immediately it's like they got the big stamp of the R rating right away. So thank you, by the way, Deadpool, for this movie. Because without Deadpool and without the stuff Ryan Reynolds and company did, this movie probably wouldn't occur.
No, I am worried, though. I said this when Deadpool came out and we did a review of that, and I'm going to repeat it here. I think Hollywood is still going to get the wrong message because this movie has made decent money so far. Not Deadpool money, but it's made good money for the budget, especially considering it's not like some big team-up movie. It's, it's just
it also has critical acclaim. Like, this is the first one since Dark Knight that people are like, this is Oscar-worthy. Now,
some of not Best Picture, but some of the performances, maybe.
I think Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman and frankly, Daphne Keane, the three main characters probably acted well enough to get a nod, especially for supporting. Like, I think Patrick Stewart could easily get a supporting role because his like senile Professor X, because that's kind of what's happening. He's going through dementia, but of course he's the most powerful psychic ever. So that leads to a whole bunch of different things. Which is really interesting. I guess near the middle of the first act, Logan is getting meds, and you think he's just a drug addict because why wouldn't he be at this point? He's just trying to escape, but he's actually getting stuff for Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier. I was going to call him Picard or bald guy, and I couldn't remember his name for a second. And at one point, like Logan just can't see correctly because he's fucking old, and I guess it was ibuprofen. Also, by the way, special shout out to Stephen Merchant, who played Caliban, who I didn't realize had been in the series before.
Yeah, if you guys remember,
he was a different actor and he was a totally different character.
Yeah, last year in X-Men Apocalypse, which we also reviewed and didn't think it was that great, he was the guy that helped. What's his name?
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. It's in the fucking title. He's the guy who helped Apocalypse find mutants at first, or he was going to him to find mutants, but then that's where they met Psylocke. He was the other pale guy.
He's a mutant tracker. Yeah, he's a mutant tracker, and he can basically, like, oh, okay, well, they're over here. It's not really a psychic thing. It's more of a. How did he describe himself? Like a glorified sniffing
truffle
dog?
pig.
Truffle pig. Yeah. Man, but the tone immediately is. The bad guy, like I was saying at the very beginning, the bad guy isn't the bad guy that is the antagonist that's written into the story. The bad guy is Logan's fucking life. The bad guy is his experiences and the drain of being Wolverine and the drain of seeing everyone around you die while you live in all these wars and all this violence and the fucking pain the man goes through. He's always had regeneration, but Wolverine's never been impervious to pain. He feels everything. So he's felt his fucking guts get ripped out 1,000,000 times. And they don't spare him any pain in this movie. He goes through a lot of shit. And it's interesting how you can make a movie on something as surface level and meaningless as a Wolverine character, but make it mean a whole bunch while doing it was really well done.
Yeah, I think what's interesting to me is this is a character movie, like you said. There are obviously action set pieces. There's, they hit every so many pages of the script. You can tell they're like, okay, we need an action scene here.
Yeah, but the thing is, it wasn't ever gratuitous. It was well paced action, and actually sometimes, like the initial fight with the water guy farmer dude. You thought that first interaction was going to be he just kills everybody, but he didn't because he doesn't fucking want to anymore. And it took another 15 minutes to even get to the next fight scene after that, maybe 10.
Yeah. Which, what's funny to me, just like when I went into Deadpool, and that's obviously a pretty hard R. This is a harder R than Deadpool. Well, it depends on how you define R. I guess Deadpool had sex scenes and stuff, but this I would argue.
Well, yeah, but not harder. Like graphic ones. It was more. They were comedy sex scenes.
Sure. But anyway, this is also a hard R movie. If you've seen the movie, they show like the claws going into the head. They show the cap. I mean, it is a violent film, and at one point they show tits, probably just because R-rated, we can show tits. Haha, joke.
They do show tits, don't they?
Yeah, there's Logan.
I didn't even notice them.
Yeah, bachelorette party, and they're just like, bachelorette party joke.
But the thing was, he was like, he chuckles to himself, but he's also pretty annoyed that this is his fucking lot in life at this point. It was good because then right after that, there's a scene of a bunch of guys, because it's on the border, so they're looking at the border as they drive across, and the guys are starting USA, USA, and Logan's just like, maybe if I was 10 years younger, I'd kill everybody.
But anyway, so just like people brought kids into Deadpool, and it was like, oh my god, this isn't really a kids movie, but I don't care.
Don't bring kids to this.
Tons of people brought kids to not the Wolverine, Logan that I saw, and
rated R. Like they have to ask, like when you buy the tickets, they ask you, like, are you sure?
Right. And it's not even that I thought it was too violent, and it probably is for kids. But in fairness, like when I was younger, I saw like RoboCop and stuff that probably was too old for me, but I don't really care about that. They're not my kids. I felt bad for the kids.
By no means RoboCop.
No, but I just mean these kids were probably bored through most of the movie, because this is not. I still think some parents, and I guess you're just not paying attention to movies and stuff. You're a parent, you have jobs and stuff. I get it, you're busy, but I don't think some of them are out of the mindset still of like, wait a minute, not everything about a superhero is like a fun kid thing my kid's gonna like, because that's not what this was. If I was like 6 and had to go sit through this, and my parents were like, we're gonna go see the new X-Men movie, I'd be like, oh right, but then you'd get there and it's like half the movie is them driving around in the desert. And I enjoyed it, but if I was 6, I'd be like, where's Laser Beam guy? Where's
Laser Beam
man? I want to, So I thought that was funny, but
Yeah. I,
It's
the
okay,
bad guy was good too, I guess. But can I talk about what I didn't like about the movie, or should we finish what we did like? Because I'm all over the place on the things I want to talk about this.
go
So
ahead.
guide
You
me.
go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, so well, I guess let me explain what happens for a little bit. Near the end of the second act, we get kind of revealed with like the antagonist, and again, the antagonist is just Logan's experiences. It's not really the guys, the people that he's fighting. It's just like a culmination of all the shit. And by the way, this is in universe. They talk about the Statue of Liberty. He has the katana from Wolverine, the last one. He now I don't know where they split necessarily, but all the things that you remember of Logan's life seem to be intact. And by the way, the stuff at the end of Apocalypse, where he like they stole his DNA and shit, that was for this.
Yeah,
So it actually made sense. And the dog tags are the same exact dog tags he got in the past as well in those other movies. It's
the name of the companies is different though. This is probably just like a script change thing, but at the end of
not that different though, because it's got that same name, but it has the name of the island that he was born on.
Does it?
Second born.
I believe
with
you.
the adamantium. Yeah. I forget what it's called, but so they do change the name, but it's still a callback to the other. Anyways, so about the second act, you go through some stuff. You find out that X24, which is her name, all of them are
23
or X23, X blank basically, and then 23 happens to be made from his DNA. So it is his daughter, but in the same way that if you donate sperm, you have kids. So it's not like the same thing, but they very much connected over the fact that she shares powers, and they laced her skeleton with adamantium as well. And by the way, she's fucking rad. She's jumping all over the place and doing all sorts of crazy shit, which is actually good because like Logan does a lot of the heavy lifting, but so does she. And it's kind of a good thing because Logan's beat the fuck up the whole movie. And now there's some stuff they've toyed with in the comics with the adamantium poisoning him. And they follow through with that. It is poisoning him. He knows what's killing him. His healing factor is very slow. It exists, but it's slow as shit. And it's like he doesn't die from being stabbed the fuck out. But he certainly doesn't feel good. He's got a limp. It was weird to see a very vulnerable Wolverine. And it was actually kind of nice.
Yeah. Someone in the comments, by the way, says, how does lacing a child's skeleton with adamantium work? How do they grow? Actually, they don't specify this in the movie, I don't think, but in the comics with X-23, they specify that just her claws for now are adamantium, and once she's fully grown, I think they were planning on doing the full skeleton.
Well, in the movie, her whole thing, like, it's bloody on, like... But the way if you look back on how Logan's skeleton is adamantium, the bones aren't fully covered in adamantium. They're, like, laced with it, like his skull, it has like things like that. It's very 90s.
Someone says in the movie there was an X-ray where it showed that just her claws were too. So I guess I missed that.
Could be, yeah, it totally could be. But she has a healing factor as well because she's not getting hurt. But which I guess would help with your bones healing, anyways, right? I can't imagine it would stop at bones. But anyway, so you go past that. They meet this family who they shouldn't have stayed with, of course. Charles is crazy, but they have a really good moment with the family thing. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit. But you meet the professor whose name is Dr. Rice. There's also Pierce is with them, who is his name's Donald Pierce, who some people thought that was an anti-Trump movie because the main character's name was Donald. He's been around since like 1980. Like this character in the books. So like calm the fuck down if you think it's an anti-Trump movie. At best, it's anti-Monsanto. Like,
yeah, it turns out the reason mutants haven't been being born, and they say this in the movie, there hasn't been a mutant born in like 13 years. The reason is that they use GMO crops and put it in the corn syrup to genetically regulate people.
Not just corn syrup, but that was the example they used.
But lots of different foods and stuff so that mutants aren't born.
Mutations, yeah, and that's actually kind of smart. Instead of building giant murder robots,
makes way more sense.
Just like give it to them in their food, no one knows. But anyway, so Dr. Rice, basically X-24 is the next thing, and if you remember back in the day, if you're an X-Men fan, there was I forget the damn thing's name. It was like Arthur or Tom, or it was something terrible. It was a robot Wolverine that was going to, take out Wolverine anyway. Wolverine ends up killing the imposter. They have another one. It's a direct clone of Wolverine in X-24. And at first you're like, wow, this is fucking campy as shit. This is where the movie turns, and everyone was wrong. But no, it's fine. There's a younger Wolverine clone who's just full of rage, and they explain it because there's some green serum that makes him ragey. And then later on, Logan, which I thought was gonna be the fucking like the MacGuffin, but they didn't do it, which is great because they had the fucking thing. There's a green serum that if you put it in, it makes you heal, and Logan used that for a little bit to berserk and kind of save the kids in the end of the third act. But because there's a bunch of the kids, X-23 isn't the only one. There's like a bunch, kind of like another little group of X-Men that were in this Mexican facility that Rice was doing. But anyways, so this young Wolverine comes out and they fight for a little bit. And it's a really good fight. If you had to have Wolverine fight Wolverine, that was how you wanted it to be. But the idea is it's not like it's a metaphor, for him fighting himself. And at first I didn't get it, and then I just thought about it a little bit, and I'm like, hey, they added quality like Grapes of Wrath-esque metaphors.
Oh, I hated it. I thought it was way too on the nose. It's like, okay, guys, we got to make a movie about Wolverine dealing with his past and coming to terms with his life and all the people he lost. What do we do? What if he fights younger Wolverine?
Yeah, no, I didn't like it, but I didn't like it necessarily. But the part I do like is they didn't say that.
Well, obviously they didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Though. Obviously they didn't say that. You could tell me in X3 if this movie was in place of X3, X-Men United, that fucking Patrick Stewart doesn't have a expositional line with like, you have to fight yourself. And then that's a theme throughout the movie. Like, and then at the end, he's like, oh, see, I was right all along. And then they have a chuckle, and then there's credits, and then he's
claiming
like,
another movie could have done something worse doesn't necessarily make what this movie did better. And I'm not
saying no. I'm just saying, like,
this is by the standard at which I am saying I still think it's a good movie. I don't think it ruins the movie. I just think the moment
you're not hearing me. I don't like this.
Okay.
This is part of the thing I don't like. So what I would have done instead of having that be the bad guy, if you want to be like better than Dark Knight, and this isn't better than Dark Knight in so far as like the feeling you get when you walk out of the theater for the first time. Now, Dark Knight, like on second and third viewings, Dark Knight isn't as good as the first time. But the first time you walked out of Dark Knight, you were like, holy shit, that was a good movie. Because like Heath Ledger had just died, and it had this sort of mysticism about it, and the performances were fucking great, and the tone in general. And it was the first like real good Batman movie. Like, this is the first good Wolverine movie, really. But you need yourself a Joker, and I don't mean that you need like the exact circumstances or even a performance as good, but you need someone that like is kind of the antithesis of that. And I think Donald Pierce was the guy to do it because he was the best antagonistic actor in that movie. And what it should have been instead wasn't he fights an allegory of himself and whatever, although the fight was neat, and it facilitates the ending. Have Donald Pierce like be that charming bayou Southern guy with a little bit of a drawl, is good looking, got nice hair, little metal arm, so he's a little interesting. And at first he starts out just charming. And then throughout the movie, you can just have him like a cross between Captain Ahab, where he just really wants to fucking kill Wolverine, but also like have him kill the kids. Like, but like not in just like, I shot a kid. Like, have him fucking strangle one of the kids with his metal arm.
Sure. I saw a Red Letter Media on their review of Logan, I think had a good point. And it was the script needed one more like pass, and they needed to combine the doctor character. That it's revealed he shows up with X-24 and whatever. They said they needed to combine the doctor character and the Pierce character so that the bad things they do sort of combine, so it makes it more like a singular focus as far as the villain goes, and not
there was like 3 bad guys. It felt like a mob of people, which didn't. So the bad guy didn't feel impactful, and that was the one big mistake this movie made.
Sure. So what else happens? If you have something to finish, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the reason it's saved is because of the ending.
Yeah, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about the relationship between Logan and X-23 a little bit, because like we said, I think the kid does a good job. I hate child actors and actresses. I've talked about this before, but the smart thing they did was that about half the movie she doesn't talk at all. It's all in the actions and the body language, and she does a good job there. And then when they do finally have her speak, it's generally in broken English because was raised in Mexico, which again, I think, and don't get me wrong, maybe she's just a fantastic child actress, but even if she's not, they were able to hide it enough. It's sort of like the animatronics and bad CG in Jurassic Park. They hide it in the dark, so even if it isn't great, you can't tell, and you can only see the good parts, and you can fill in the gaps for yourself. She's the child acting version of that. And I really enjoyed her in the movie. Hugh Jackman does a great job acting against her, being a curmudgeon asshole, doing things you generally don't want to do in front of kids, like stabbing people in the face, but you still feel the connection there, and it feels like a relatively natural build. I feel like towards the end, the relationship accelerates a little, whereas I wish they would have spread it out slightly more evenly throughout the film. But overall, I believe it. I believe that a person maybe who has lost everyone around him time and time again, some of them twice, it makes sense to connect to someone who you find out is, at least in some way, your daughter, I guess.
It doesn't even really connect until the very end.
That's what I'm criticizing, though, a little bit, because I feel like they should have spread it out a little bit. By the time they get to the farmhouse with that family, you can sort of see it start to build, but it really ramps up at the end, where all of a sudden he really professes an attachment to her.
Well, I don't think it's not. His attachment is clear, but it's more his actions that aren't. Because he's very protective of that aspect of his life at that point, and it seems pretty clear. Like he obviously cares about Caliban, right? Caliban ends up getting abducted by Donald Pierce in order to track Wolverine and the others as they run across the country. But it's not like a loving thing. He almost feels like these are my only friends necessarily, and I think he would have gone and saved Caliban if the other two weren't with him. Does that make sense?
Sure, I get it.
Like you can tell that he gives a shit, but he pretends to not give a shit so much that he almost believes it.
I want to say it's sort of Mad Max syndrome, where he's lost so many people that anyone he even ends up with a tenuous attachment to, when they become in danger, he feels like he is obligated to save them because he failed to save people in the past. And that's sort of this movie is him learning to reattach to someone again. I get it, but I think that's the case with Wolverine. He's very, I don't want to help him, but of course he really does. Because
also, like he has that, but he does have a good relationship with Professor X, even though doesn't really allow himself to have like a loving thing. Like the reason Professor X is even there. Did you even catch that? He killed everyone at the fucking Charles Xavier School for the Gifted. He killed everyone.
I'm glad they didn't. That's one thing I applaud the movie for. They didn't just come out and say, I killed all the X-Men. They allude to it, and then finally, right before what happens to him, he says, like, Logan, I think I remember what I did. Like, he's like, I know why you were medicating me now. And
right. Because what happens is he has seizures, and then his psychic power goes out, and he basically does that time freeze thing, but it's not how it should be. So people are fucking like suffocating.
Mm-hmm.
But Wolverine and X-23, because their healing factor, I assume that's the implication, they can kind of power through it and stop it. by giving him sedation and at one point ibuprofen on accident. And because he killed a lot of people, not just there, he killed the surrounding public as well. And so Wolverine takes him to fucking Mexico so that because Xavier's brain is classified as a weapon of mass destruction after that, to protect the old guy. But he has to sedate him to keep him safe. So they have this weird relationship of like prisoner guard at a certain point. And so but he clearly loves Professor X. Like, it's the only guy that's ever shown him any sort of like home environment is Charles Xavier. So, and that gets explored a little bit, but again, it's not in this ham-fisted, poorly written way. It's just kind of an action passive thing that feels natural and unforced, which is the real gem of this movie, is the amount of like flow it has without effort, which is how actual relationships work, really. Like, you just like, oh, I guess we're friends. Like, you just end up being friends. You don't go, we're going to be friends or we're going to be together. Like in every romantic comedy ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not that. It was genuine. And that scene where they're sitting down at dinner after they help that family out is just like, it's the closest Logan ever got to a family, and it's like a night. It's one night.
Yeah.
How do you not like that?
No, I do. There's one plot hole I wanted to bring up that I just thought was funny, and it's not. This isn't the focus.
Plot hole. Hit me with it.
Wolverine, he's so worried about Charles killing people with his mental powers, so he puts him in that water tower because big, metal domes and stuff will stop his powers from spreading. Suppress. They could have just gone and found Magneto's helmet or a helmet like that, and
found Magneto's helmet.
No,
that's
but
not a plot hole.
No, like what was it? Was it a special metal? I don't remember. Was that a special metal Magneto's helmet was made out of that wouldn't?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay, because I was just gonna say if they could just figure out a way to make a helmet like that for Charles, he could be fine. Like, it wouldn't.
No, it wasn't that easy. Like, why would Magneto even let them? Also, I think Magneto's probably dead at that point.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Someone's got to have his helmet, a museum, or like. Something.
Also, there's 7. They specifically say 7 mutants died. Not necessarily all the X-Men died. So, Scott Summers, so Cyclops, Rogue, Iceman, Beast, I assume. Did I say Rogue?
Yeah.
Kitty Pryde, maybe Colossus or someone. But I think Jean Grey's already dead.
Nah, because she came back in the Days of Futures Past. Assuming this takes place in the Days of Futures Past post time travel timeline at the end of that.
Technically alive, but wouldn't she be able to stop Professor X with her psychic powers?
I don't know.
Still go through the Phoenix thing, but that doesn't matter because they don't even. Like, it has a tenuous relationship with the timelines at best, anyways.
They've said it takes place in its own thing. If you want to connect it to any of the other movies, and obviously they allude to it, that's fine. But it's not meant to be. It plays by Doctor Who rules. If it can fit in canon, fine. If not, whatever.
Right? Yeah, and that's actually to its benefit because, and frankly, the X-Men timelines, even before Days of Future Past, were all fucky. So. It doesn't really matter.
I'm not the biggest X-Men fan in the world. Most of the movies I don't like because they're very early to mid 2000s. The reboot, prequel, trilogy, whatever the balls you want to call it, is fine, but still don't like them as much as the mainline Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. But I appreciate the fact that they're willing to say with their own timeline, let's just make it a fun movie. Let's make it an entertaining movie. Fuck the timeline. We'll fix it later. I can appreciate that to an extent, but let's talk about the 2 big things that happened in the movie, and that is the 2 deaths. And we've already said spoilers earlier, but here is double spoilers if you don't want to know. Although, honestly, let's be real. If you can't call it, I don't...
You expected the first one, right?
Yeah. Do you think 95-year-old Charles Xavier is going to make it out of this movie?
Yeah, come on, man. Actually, wasn't he he said he was a centenarian at one point.
No, he said he's 90 something. He said whatever because they call him an octogenarian, and he says no, I'm actually and then whatever.
Nerd. I don't know what it would be.
Whatever the 9 means.
Centurion, but never mind. So yeah, he died in a weird way, and for Professor X, it was not a glorious death. It's not what you expected, but the kind of, because I didn't expect it, was a good thing. Because, like, why would he have to die in a way I expected? Assuming this is the real world, like giving them the benefit of the doubt on their universe, like, why wouldn't he just die like that?
Yeah, what happens is, it's actually, if you think about it, it's pretty sad because he's laying in bed and he's having kind of a moment of clarity, and Logan...
With Logan...
walks in, air quotes,
right.
And he says, oh, that's like the nicest night I've had in years. Which you think he's talking to Logan, turns out it's not. It's the evil clone X-24, and he stabs Charles, which it's sad on multiple levels, especially because Wolverine never gets to hear from him. Like, I'm so glad we did this. This was the nicest night I've had in years. He doesn't. Well,
it wasn't just that either. It was he's laying in bed. He says, like, this is the nicest we have in years. Like, this is like family. Like, this is, and he also has that like realization that he actually did the terrible thing. So Logan's not there to actually like talk to him about it. So both of them lose out on this moment. And on top of that, he might, because he's so crazy, he might actually think Logan killed him.
Well, the real Logan does go up and grab Charles, puts him in the back of a truck,
and he says, "I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me." So I'm hoping.
By the way, that was really good acting, because I felt like Logan felt like fucking shit.
Yeah, and then he's in the bed of the truck, and Logan's plan was to take them both out into the middle of the ocean so Charles couldn't hurt anyone, wait for Charles to die of old age, and then shoot himself in the head with an adamantium bullet. Now, I don't know why he thinks an adamantium bullet would kill him, because I guess his healing powers are lower
in
now.
X-Men Origins Wolverine, that's where that bullet comes from.
Yeah. I was thinking, why would it kill him now? Because last time all it did was erase his memories, but now his healing factor is a lot slower. So, but they also shoot young Wolverine in the head.
Well, no, but he needs the green stuff to be effective because he's not.
That was probably like a safeguard they put in so he couldn't turn him or something. Fine, I'll accept that. But he puts Charles in the bed of the truck as he's dying, and Charles looks around and he's like, "Our boat." He thinks they made it to their plan.
But by the way, like, Stewart does a fucking great job.
I like that they had to age him up for this, because even though he's been playing Charles Xavier for like 30 years, he still looks almost the same.
Did you notice that he had hair?
A little, yeah.
And I actually looked into that. There's an explanation in canon with that. Do you want to?
He shaves his head.
No, he doesn't shave his head. No. So when he loses his hair in, was it Days of Future Past or the other one? Where he loses his hair finally.
In the prequels, they shave his head.
No, he didn't shave his head. He lost it. He lost it in a psychic event. Because you don't remember? He doesn't use. It's either he doesn't use cerebral. I can't remember. There's like he's covered in this blue psychic energy, and his fucking hair starts falling out, and it's really painful. Because remember, he was using his psychic powers to keep himself to be able to walk.
No, he was using that thing that injected into him to let him walk or something.
Right, along with his psychic powers. Anyways, he loses his hair from a psychic event, but what the director said is, James Mangold, is his psychic powers are so dulled from the like dementia or whatever he's going through that his hair is growing back from the lack of trauma from him using that. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, sure.
But
That's fine.
It's very sparse and it's old man hair, but yeah, it was really interesting.
Someone in the comments says he cuts his hair with apocalypse. X-Men pun. Nice.
Puns are illegal. Anyways, so Charles dies and he buries him in the woods, and that's really sad too. He that was one of the best parts of the movie as far as acting's concerned. Hugh Jackman is standing there with a shovel, and he keeps trying to say, you say words when people die. He keeps trying to say it, but he can't. Like, there's water in the distance. He goes, he's got water, but he like chokes on that word. And he tries to say it like a couple more times, and he just fucking can't. And then a comedy moment happens after that almost. Because everyone I think it was out of discomfort, but a lot of people in the theater he goes over and he takes a shovel with him and he walks over to the truck they were driving in and he just starts beating the shit out of it in rage. And then people start laughing in the theater. And I was like, well, it is funny, especially like he's going at it, but like if you were watching that alone, I don't think you'd be laughing.
No, I think because the tension's high in that scene because you know that he was like Wolverine's only friend left really from the old days and he's dead and he's dealing with it. So it's just, that's what comic relief is. It relieves tension. So I assume any opportunity to laugh was, that's why it elicits that in groups of people. But anyway, and then the other death, which again, triple spoilers. At the very end, Wolverine decides, oh, I need to save those kids because I care about X-23. What, I forget her real name now. Laura. Care about Laura now. So he goes into the woods, injects himself with the super berserk Healy thing, goes crazy for a while, kills some soldiers.
Which, by the way, he's told specifically, if you only take a little, it'll help you out and keep you healthy. If you take a lot of it at one time, it'll make you a little crazy for a little bit.
Yeah. Fight some people, the kids get involved. Actually, there's a great scene where the guy with the metal arm, Pierce, the kids do capture him, and the kids use their powers to like just murder him. It's great. Like some of them wrap him in the vines because that's their power. Some of them like electrocute him. It's actually really great. Like kids murdering guy.
Yeah. It's really good. And
then
that whole fight scene is pretty sweet though. Like through the woods, you see it a little bit in the trailer, but it's like really fast and really brutal. Sure. All the fights are fast and brutal, but this one specifically because he's like it's old man Logan fighting most of the time, but then in this last scene for like 5 minutes, he's basically the same Logan he's always been, and he's just fucking like you could see it when he's at top shape, he'd wreck the fucking world. And it was cool to see for a little bit, and then it wears off, and that's totally fine because it didn't need to be this crazy gladiatorial thing. It can be slow and lumbering and brutal and I don't know. It was almost methodical.
Sure. So X-24 shows up. They have their fight at the end. That's again pretty brutal.
X-23 lays right into X-24 though.
That's
Laura stabs the fuck out of that guy.
I like her because she's a lot smaller, obviously. She doesn't have the strength, but she's crazy and fast. And I like that they actually made an attempt to differentiate her fighting from Wolverine's fighting.
Oh, it's way different. She's kind of like a little spider monkey with knives on its hands.
They end up killing X-24. They use the adamantium bullet.
She uses the bullet that he was going to use to kill himself.
Yeah.
And although she had forbidden him from doing it, sort of, because she cares about him. But he's like impaled on this tree from X-24.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a poetic part about this is they're running to Canada, and I'm pretty sure if they're not in Canada, they're very close, and it like ends where it starts, sort of.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And Wolverine, poetically also, he planned on killing himself. He was killed by himself, technically. And he's impaled on the thing. X-23 comes up and it's like, you're dying.
She cuts it, and they stay on that shot for a while. Like she's just hacking away at this piece of wood. And it was actually, it was interesting that they stayed on the shot and let her take 3 swings at the thing.
Sure. And he says to her, this is what it feels like, mirroring what Charles had said earlier about, having a family. This is what it feels like to care about someone and have people care about you.
I took that as what it feels like to die.
There are different ways that you can interpret that. You could interpret it as this is what it feels like to die, but I took it as because it was so similar to what Charles had said earlier that he was talking about that. But you could take it either way. And then this is going to be depending on how much cheese you can handle, if you're going to hate the line or like the line. But
the way it was delivered wasn't cheesy.
Sure, but then X-23 says to him, like, Daddy. It's just the first time she's called him that in the movie. And then he dies. So that's going to be, depending on a couple of factors, how big of an X-Men fan you are, how much you've been bought into the movie by that point. If you're not sold by the time it gets to that third act, you're going to think it's cheesy and bad. But if you are sold, you'll feel something. I wasn't like tearing up or anything, but I was like, oh yeah, I actually feel that. I feel the connection they had. That's fine. some people in my theater, definitely I could hear them were tearing up a little bit, which I'm like,
a lot of people cried where I was at. I didn't cry. I don't cry at movies, but yeah.
And then they have, again, the scene at the end, which is super cheesy. They bury him under rocks in the wilderness, and they have a cross. And then the last thing X-23 does is she takes the cross and turns it into an X. And I was like, oh, what a great visual ending to the Wolverine story. That's fucking great.
That could have been so fucking schlocky and corny, but they do a really good job by grounding it in actual feeling and not just symbolism. Because she clearly gave a shit. Like, she was rooting for Wolverine the whole time, and she's kind of the audience at points where she's like, come on, just you always make it out. Just make it out. And he doesn't. And that's and I liked the fact that it wasn't like this. It wasn't this Magneto ripping him apart and he didn't like shove his claws into a thing that was going to kill him to save the world. It was a fucking stump. He just got killed by a piece of wood but it was just so much trauma through his whole life leading up to this moment. Like, he just couldn't anymore. And that was okay. It was, I don't know. It wasn't a grand gesture, really. He saved like 8 kids. You know what I mean? Like, but that was okay. Like, that was important to him.
Right.
And
I think there needs to be more. This is why this works now. Why I think this movie is going to make money, and why I think it's getting such high reviews. We're so used to now all the Marvel movies, as much as I enjoy them, a lot of them are copies of each other, and the threat at the end is always big laser into the sky. There's a portal, something's going to come out. There's a bunch of alien minions you got to fight. The reason I think people like Deadpool and this, other than just the fact that they're well-made movies, is that the stakes are personal. You feel them more. I mean, sure, aliens coming into Manhattan and blowing stuff up. It's like a big action schlock. But, Deadpool, even though he's a silly, sarcastic character, and you saw the relationship he established with his girlfriend, so you care if they get back together. Logan, the loss he's felt, so you care that he cares. He doesn't want to lose this group of kids, and more specifically X-23. You don't want him to feel that loss, so it matters to you. More personal stories in comic book movies are a thing that will keep it from going the way of Westerns and keep it from getting stale and, people being like, oh my God, another superhero movie.
This was a Western, though. Like,
in some ways, yeah.
Like, showed footage of the movie Shane, which I believe the hero dies in. And he has, aren't the last words that Laura says about him from the movie Shane?
Yeah.
Because she's watching Shane with Charles at one point, which was a cool moment. They're just kind of chilling in a hotel room. And I don't know, it seemed very granddaughter.
Sure.
Because he's talking up, like, he just talks about, like, oh, I saw this movie when it came out or whatever. And, it was like a generational sort of thing. And it was very interesting and real. And I don't know, man. I wish Patrick Stewart would get more roles, other than, he's Picard or he's Xavier or because he can really fucking act, and I know he chooses his work, but he did a really fucking good job, and I would not be surprised if he got some Oscar nods.
I don't think the thing is, as much as I actually think some of the performances in this,
I don't think they should win, but I think they should get recognized.
The little girl, I think, should get a Best Supporting Actress, but I don't think they will, just because the Oscars is, generally speaking, it's not always the case, because things have. I mean, for instance, Suicide Squad won for technical awards this year, which is
garbage. Although, to be fair, the Killer Croc makeup was fucking great.
But the thing is, I would agree if it was a weak category that year, but Star Trek Beyond was also nominated for the same category. Star Trek Beyond
was fantastic.
The makeup in that was really good on the Alien. So
the makeup was fantastic. The movie was like 7.
Yeah, sure. Well, so was Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad was like
but the Academy can occasionally do bigger, fun stuff. I mean, Star Wars has been nominated for stuff, obviously. Star Wars won Best Picture, the original, I want to say. And Mad Max was nominated, the other year.
Mad Max was awesome, though.
But And this, well, I like Logan. It's not Mad Max good. Mad Max is one of the best movies to come out in the past 10 years, period.
Well, let's rank where Logan is. I think it's in my top 3 favorite superhero movies.
Top 3, wow. Huh.
And that's not that's in like theater, how it made me feel. Like Dark Knight right now is my top. Like the first time I ever saw it, like it blew us away. It blew, like, I don't know a single person that went and saw Dark Knight the first time and didn't like it. Like the second and third times you start picking it apart because it's Batman. I mean, I'm sure the 5th time we see Wolverine or Logan, we're gonna be like, I mean, the story's still good, but why didn't this happen or why didn't that happen?
Sure.
But Dark Knight's got to be there. Guardians is probably my number 2 or 3, and then Logan is either 2 or 3. Like those are the movies right now that, like, after you come out of the theater, you're buzzing, like you're thinking about shit, you're excited about talking about it with another person, and I like. And while I'll say like Winter Soldier is fantastic, I think there's other really good movies in that genre, but like the first time you saw Iron Man in theaters was usually pretty well received. I just don't think it's up there with the other. Like Deadpool is the other one, which I would put right below this. Like I would watch Deadpool probably more times than I watch Logan, but I don't know if I'd enjoy it more than I watch Logan, just because Deadpool's funny, and that's kind of what I go for. But do you know what I mean? Like they're both well shot, but Logan is like you can never watch any X-Men movies. Show Logan to someone the first time, they'll still like it.
Yeah, I agree.
If you show Deadpool to people without the context of knowing what that is, they'll laugh at it probably, but like, who's Colossus? Who's this? Why is this giant airship they're fighting on funny? Like, I don't know. I think Logan's just a film.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I'm trying to think. I haven't even really thought about my rankings for superhero movies. But yeah, I usually, when I do lists like that, I don't put them in any particular order, just because it's bound to change depending on my mood.
I don't do it like now. I've seen Dark Knight so many times, it's like lost its effect on me. But
right,
like, walking out of that theater, dude, with like you were with us when we watched it in IMAX, right?
I was there for Dark Knight Rises. I wasn't there for Dark Knight.
That's right. Yeah. Rises wasn't as good, but we did eat a lot of White Castle that day.
Okay. Yeah, don't remind me.
But no, Dark Knight, I went and saw it in IMAX, and I was with a group of friends, and like they were buzzing so much that no one really talked. Like, sure. And I don't know. This had the same effect. Like everyone's walking out of the theater, and you can tell everyone wants to talk, but they're still processing it. And they're all excited. Everyone liked it. It was, I don't know, man. It's one of those movies. Like Mad Max gave you that same effect where you're just like, holy fuck. I just got the most stimulus I've ever had in 2 hours.
I'd put Logan's in my top 5 as far as superhero movies, as far as just quality. If you're talking about what I'm going to watch like on a Saturday night, like, oh, I just want something fun, I'm probably going to go for something lighter. But
it's not a fun movie.
It's a really good, you're right. It's not a fun movie. It's a really good movie with some brutal action and art. So
I can't believe how good the movie is as a movie. Like, it's well shot. Like, the acting is actually really, really good. And that's so weird from a fucking Wolverine movie. Yeah. The acting, like, Hugh Jackman's always been fine. He's always done a good job in this role. Even the first time around, he was, fun. And he's always been Wolverine. But this reminded me of his performance in, have you seen Prisoners?
No.
Him and Jake Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal is a detective. Hugh Jackman is a parent whose child gets abducted. And you should watch Prisoners, everyone. It's fantastic. This reminded me of the depth to which he acted in Prisoners, with just like there was a deeper sort of rage in this movie than, like, it wasn't a surface level, I'm just a Wolverine. It was like he felt it. I don't know. He did a really, really good job. So
yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap up soon. If anyone has any questions for us on opinions,
please ask
or
questions.
please ask, because we're gonna wrap up. But
because now this is the part where we could just all talk about it because it was so interesting.
Before we can talk a little bit while we're waiting for questions, there was actually a short before Logan.
Oh,
and it was
Deadpool.
the teaser trailer for Deadpool 2, sort of. And there's not a lot to talk about with that, but it was fun. It was Ryan Reynolds again coming in and doing his Deadpool thing. I mean, the humor, if you don't like Deadpool, you're not going to like that, but I thought it was funny.
It's on YouTube now.
Yeah, it's because it got leaked.
So. Another film with Jackman or end on a high end. He said he's done anyways. I don't want it to ever, like, I don't even want the same universe. You can do the Days of Future Past cast still. Like those movies could be really good if they just stopped with the Wolverine bullshit. Because every single movie, it's like Wolverine's got to do with it. All of them are Wolverine movies. Let's be real.
Yeah, well,
it's Wolverine and the X-Men.
He's one of the most credible actors in the movie, and everyone likes him.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, in the new cast, though, they have a lot of really good actors.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no shortage for actors now. When it started, of course, it was him and Patrick Stewart that made people go watch it. I guess Halle Berry in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
But just you can make a really good X-Men adventure movie. And you don't have to have Wolverine in it. Or you can, and it can just be someone else.
Someone asked, was there an after the credit scene? No, they're actually surprised. I think the Deadpool scene would have been an after the credit scene, but I think to preserve the tone the ending was going for, they decided to throw it in the beginning.
I'm glad there wasn't, because I was so scared that they were gonna do a end of Batman v Superman where the rocks move or whatever.
Yeah,
or they were gonna be like injecting him with the healing serum and he was fine, and then he went to Canada and lived happily ever after. I didn't want that. It's weird to not want a character to die because he symbolizes kind of your childhood, and that character, like Wolverine's always been the coolest X-Man. But at the same time, I wanted to be treated with some sort of respect at a certain point, and they did that. And I think that's part of the reason a lot of people like this is because they're like, he fucking deserves that. That, like, Hugh Jackman put in a lot of fucking work. He deserves this ending. Patrick Stewart deserves a cap on the end of all this.
Yeah. Someone says, why did Professor X kill all the mutants? It was an accident. He has Alzheimer's or dementia, and it was he had a seizure, and his seizure caused him to accidentally kill them.
Right. The psychic powers spread out. Now we don't know who died specifically.
I think just everyone in the house other than Wolverine.
Well, it said 7 specifically, and there's more than 7 X-Men. But so who knows? We counted them a little bit earlier, but I would assume the main ones: Cyclops, Beast, Rogue, Kitty Pryde, Iceman.
Well, at this point, it appears every other mutant is dead, though, as far as they know. They're not in contact with them.
It doesn't mean that he killed them, though. That's what I mean.
Oh, sure. Everyone else is dead, though.
Right. I don't know. They never did do a Gambit properly, so.
Yeah. Someone says Jackman and Stewart said they'd do it again if Marvel got the rights. It's actually true. They've said if, or at least specifically, Jackman said if he could appear in an Avengers movie, he'd come back and do it because he really likes those movies or something, which will never happen with him or within the next. Yeah, no. I'm glad the X-Men franchise honestly is separated from Marvel at this point. Yeah. Because I've never thought the X-Men and the rest of the Marvel universe gel very well. It doesn't really make sense. Why?
Especially because they're just outside of New York and they didn't show up for that fucking alien fight.
Right. And I think it allows them to do things like Logan and Deadpool, which never would have been made the way they were made in the Marvel Cinematic. I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe for what it is, but let's be real. It's a light, fun popcorn type situation.
What I'm hoping is WB keeps seeing movies like Logan and Deadpool happen, and they give us a rated R Batman.
Only I don't trust them to do anything, no matter what the rating.
I don't trust them. I want them to try it. If they're like, okay, hey, make a movie, even if it's mangled, and they're like, hey, go make a fucking R-rated DC Batman movie. Yeah, I'll watch that. Like, because the comics are pretty R-rated. Like, there's a lot of blood. There's some themes that you don't want to usually take care of in like even the Arkham games. or pretty.
Yeah.
Like I would use gritty, but not in the sense of a reboot. Like, you know, Zaz fucking is actually a serial killer. There's actual bodies. It's yeah. I don't know. I think if you could treat that with respect and still pull it off. Imagine a Dark Knight Returns in on the big screen, but not with the craziness. Like the actual books are fucking insane.
I want to say that's kind of what Snyder was trying to go for a little bit with Batman v Superman, and he just fucked it up entirely.
Of course he was. But it was. Have you ever read or watched? Have you ever watched the animated movie or read the books for?
I've read. A long time ago. I read
like insane. Like there's the gang, and then he gets a gang of Batmen at the end. It's all fucking stupid. Green Arrow comes out of retirement for a minute, shoot one arrow.
Yeah. Josh Potts asked, was there an explanation why the mutants stopped being born? Yeah, they were secretly putting all stuff in the food that made people not mutants.
Yeah.
And someone brought this up to me. I don't know if this is true or not, but someone said, like, did you notice in the movie X-23 never eats anything with corn syrup in it or something? Which it's like, I mean,
an energy drink, dude.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I just heard that. So.
No, that's not true.
I'm just repeating what someone said. So.
Also, it wouldn't affect her anyway.
She's already. Well, they never explain if it just keeps you from spreading the mutant gene or if it like turns it off. They never explain. So.
Well, it seems to. If you have mutant genes, it seems to off you.
Oh, okay.
Like no one was born in the next. Well, okay. So if Days of Future Past and Apocalypse are a thing, because Apocalypse, he gets taken away, that comes back, and Jean Grey is alive. The timeline of that, no mutant has been born in 25 years, would be off.
No, they said no mutant's been born in like 13 years. It's actually because I think I forget whose video it was, but it was on YouTube. They actually explained the timeline and it made sense. They basically explained, I think Days of Futures Past takes place in like 2020 or 2019 or something. I don't remember, but it was like some years before Logan. And mutants don't start showing their powers until puberty, roughly. So they basically explained around the time of Days of Futures Past, future, the good ending future, would have been around the time the last mutant may have been born. And so between then and Logan, they would have started noticing that they were fewer and fewer.
And also, the people that are hunting Logan are called the Reavers, and they hunt other mutants.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that they've hunted down all the other mutants, or most of them. It's also weird that like Caliban and Professor X couldn't detect any other mutants on the planet.
So well, Professor X, X is also messed up because of his dementia. So
right, yeah, I don't know.
And Caliban, I assume, just has even if there are other mutants, I assume he has a range. Yeah. But I don't know. That seems like most of the questions. Someone also asked, like, why didn't the bad guys bring a magnet? Fair point. Although adamantium, I don't think is actually magnetic. And yes, I know Magneto has used the adamantium before, but Magneto doesn't necessarily go by the rules of actual real-world magnetism. He can lift things that are not typically.
That's not how magnetism works, anyways.
No, like, magnets can only pick up like iron, cobalt, nickel, but Magneto can do any metal, so his mutation doesn't follow the laws.
I think Magneto. I think he just controls metal.
I think it depends.
How Firestarter can control fire.
I know what you're saying, but I think in universe they've explained it different ways in different comics and different movies and stuff. Sometimes it is legitimately he controls magnetic fields, and he's been able to use it to control like electricity and stuff on occasion to mess it up. Sometimes
he can control metal and just let it happen. It's fine.
It's whatever the story dictates is what is needed for the story, basically.
Will you show some tits? Not today. Not today. Electrospectrum. There you go. Did you guys already talk about the family they had dinner with? Yes, but let me do one more thing on that. Logan, don't. You're being hunted.
That was stupid. It's funny too because Charles got this fucking family killed so bad. Yeah. He's like, Charles, and by the way, if you haven't seen the movie, I don't know why you watched this far into the review, but the part in the trailer where Logan's like, someone will come along, and Charles is like, someone has already come along. They're not talking about X-23. They're talking about this family on a farm, and their horses got loose, and they got to help them get the horses, and they're like, come to dinner. And Logan, being reasonable, is like, no, we can't go. You know, he doesn't tell them, but we're being hunted, basically. And Charles is like, no, I'd love to have dinner. I'm dumb as shit. So they go, and what do you know? The entire family gets brutally murdered. So, good job, Professor X. 3 more people you killed.
Ouch.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. All right, I think that's it. So, the next movie comes out today, actually. It's Kong Skull Island. I don't know if that's going to be any good or not, but Jake and I will probably go see that, or at the very least, I will, and we will talk about it. So that'll probably be sometime next week or the week after. I don't know. We'll see. Right?
Sounds good to me.
We got a spring and summer full of fucking movies. So many movies.
We're gonna do them whenever we watch them and give some time for other people too.
Yeah. So next one's gonna be Kong, probably, unless something else happens, and then Power Rangers, which we're gonna have to talk about. Good, bad, or ugly. So
I want to see that, but I'm probably going to. Movies coming out. Let's see what happens. New movies coming soon. Yeah, Kong is very soon. Also, Iron Fist is coming out, and apparently that has poor reviews. Beauty and the Beast is coming out. Not going to see it. Trainspotting 2, don't care. The Belko Experiment, not going to see it. Power Rangers is the 24th.
Yep.
Wait, when's Kong then?
Today.
Oh, today, yeah. Shit. So I gotta see that soon. Maybe I'll go see it. I don't know, this weekend. Maybe my lady friend wants to see it. Slamma-Jamma. Well, we should watch that. It's a drama about sports. Ghost in the Shell could be an interesting watch. Have you seen the anime?
No, I don't really watch anime.
I don't really either, but it used to run on Sci-Fi a lot. And so I watched it once. It's interesting, but I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I just know that she was like, it's kind of like a RoboCop thing where they take her and they put her in a robot body, and she discovers later on that it wasn't like to save her life. It was just a fucking thing.
Okay.
Trying to look for more than March. What comes after March? I'm not actually like April. The Case for Christ. I wonder what channel could do something on the Case for Christ.
Oh god.
Still looking. The Fate of the Furious. You guys want to see that? No one wants to see that. No one wants to fucking see that. When does it start, Hugo?
When does what start?
There's nothing in April. April sucks. But here comes May. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, May 5th. Oh, buddy. I'm so excited for that movie. Are you going to watch it?
Am I going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Yes, I'm going to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Good. Alien Covenant. Are we seeing Alien Covenant? I kind of liked...
I'm going to have to because my girlfriend's
Prometheus?
a huge fan. So
I kind of liked Prometheus, and I understand why people have like some issues with it, but it was like still an interesting sci-fi movie.
I don't know.
There wasn't any point where I was bored.
I haven't seen Prometheus. So.
Oh, what? You should go see Prometheus.
Someone says in the comments, "Where's the Westworld review?" Here it is. It's good. Go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. Binge it on HBO now. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Is that going to be good or not?
I don't know. I'm probably still going to see it, though. I like those movies. Even the bad ones I can watch. So,
man, I don't know about it. And then Wonder Woman, June 2nd.
No confidence in Wonder Woman.
Nope. The Mummy's coming back. Cars 3, where it's going to be a dark reboot.
No.
Transformers The Last Night. Oh, God. June looks just awful. Okay. Up to June. I don't know.
All right. So thanks, everyone, for watching. Stay tuned for our further reviews this year. There's so much stuff going out. Oh, my God.
Go see Logan.
Yeah, if you're at all interested.
It might be the best movie of the year so far.
It's tough to say.
It probably is. It might be the best movie all year if it, like, I don't know. Looks like we're not going to get.
It's the best I've seen so far. Get Out was also really good. It's a very different kind of movie though, so I'm not going to compare the two. But I don't know. Anyway, thanks everyone. Until next time, I'm Hugo.
Jake.
This has been Logan dies at the end, and so does Professor X, and I don't know.